Are you preparing to butcher some rabbits and you're wondering, what's the best knife to butcher rabbits with? Well, that's what I'm going to get cleared up for you in today's video, so stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to another Slightly Rednecked video. Again, my name is Chris. If you're not familiar with this channel, I help you to produce your own meat, eggs, and vegetables from your backyard, your balcony, your deck, your garage, or heck, even a spare room in your house if that's the way you want to do it. The most common question I get from people when they first start out raising rabbits and it comes time to butcher their first set, they always want to know, what's the best knife to use to butcher my rabbits with? And as with most things, it depends. First of all, let me say there is no such thing as the best knife to butcher rabbits. It's really whatever works for you, whatever is the best knife for you to use to butcher rabbits. But the most important thing about any knife that you use is it needs to be sharp. So if you are good at sharpening knives, just about any knife is going to work. Let me show you a couple of examples here. Okay, this knife is a case hunting knife. It's a case, I don't remember the model number, 578. It's a 3.5-inch hunting knife. And this works fine for butchering rabbits, but honestly, it's a little bit big. It's a little bit too big. This is more for butchering bigger game. This is my deer knife when I go deer hunting. This is what I use to field dress my deer with. And it works great for that. It holds a great edge. You put an edge on it and it holds up really well. It's very tough. It's very sturdy. You got a lot of strength behind it, but it's a little bit of an overkill for butchering rabbits. You can see my fancy cardboard and duct tape sheath that I made for it. It's a little bit on the bulky side for butchering rabbits. Rabbits are very, very small, so you're going to be doing more intricate work with the knife, and this is a little bit on the big side. So I really don't use this for butchering rabbits. Show you a couple of other examples here. A lot of people really enjoy using a fillet knife, and this is just a cheap, I don't even remember the brand name of this. I don't know what brand it is, but it's just a cheap fillet knife. You can get it in any big box store. The good thing about a fillet knife is you can get them very, very sharp. They do hold up very well. They've got a flexible blade, so you can see that kind of bends a little bit, so it works a little bit well to get into some of the tight spots that you need to maybe get into. But again, in my opinion, this is just a little bit too long of a blade to use for butchering rabbits. It's a little bit overkill, not really necessary in my opinion. Show you another example of a knife. This is a Mora knife, and boy, I really like these knives. These are cheap. I think this is a $14, $15 knife. Puts a great edge on it, holds up very well. It's a good size. It's almost a little too big to butcher my rabbits with, but hey, I've used it to butcher many, many rabbits, and it works great for that. And again, they're cheap. I mean, very good knives for the cost, so great value. Now, I will tell you one thing is they're not, they will rust if you don't keep them dry. So when you wash this thing off, you want to dry it off really well, and you can see there's a couple of spots of rust and some patina on there, but it's a good knife. I'll put links down below for some of these knives. Just a disclaimer, there'll probably be affiliate links, so if you buy through that link, you might give me a few dollars or $1 or 50 cents or whatever. So if that bothers you, go look it up on your own and buy it. Otherwise, I appreciate your support for purchasing through my links. And let me give you another example here. What I use most of the time when it comes to butchering rabbits is my pocket knife. That's it, my pocket knife. And the one I'm using right now is a Kershaw knife. This is a Kershaw, I don't remember. I'll have to look up the model number and put it down below in the link. But this is a great knife. Again, holds a good edge, and that's the most important part. You want your knife to be sharp. So if you're good at sharpening knives, any knife is going to work. As long as you keep it sharp, it's going to do a good job. You don't want to have to be sawing at the skin to cut through it. You want a nice, just when you cut the skin, it just cuts right open. That's going to be your best bet as far as a knife goes. So if you're not good at butchering, or excuse me, if you're not good at sharpening knives, this is a great selection. This is a razor knife, just a box cutter. This happens to be a folding one. This is a Craftsman brand, but they make plenty of different ones you can use. What's great about this is that razors, of course, incredibly sharp. When they start to dull out, you just take the I can't remember how to open this thing up, but you just take the blade out and replace it with a sharp razor blade and you're good to go. You don't have to worry about sharpening a knife. So if you're not good at sharpening or you just don't like to do it, this is a great option to use. Incredibly sharp, works very well. You're not going to have to put a lot of force into it when it comes to cutting, and this is probably your best bet. They do make some other knives that are more like a hunting knife, more like a skinning knife, that have interchangeable blades on them, but they have a longer blade. So instead of that short little box blade like that, they have a longer blade. They're shaped more like this, and the blade part itself right here is a razor blade that goes the full length of the knife, and it's interchangeable, so when it gets dull you just take it out, replace it. I'll put a link down below where you can get one of those. They run about $35, somewhere right around in there. But again, a great option if you're not good at sharpening knives, or if you just don't like to sharpen knives. One more tool that I think is absolutely necessary, regardless of what kind of knife that you want to use, is a good pair of pruners. Now I like these quite a bit because these are ratcheting pruners. So what you use these for is to cut off like the legs, the neck bone, whenever you're going to remove the head, so you don't damage your knife blade up, because nothing will dull your knife out quicker than trying to cut through bone. When you're chopping through bone, that really puts nicks in your blade. It can dull it up. So this is a great knife saver. And again, it's just a simple pair. I can't open up. There we go. Simple pair of pruners, but they're ratcheting, so you don't have to put as much force through. You can just kind of crank them down a little bit, and they just crank down and snap right through. I can't show because I don't have anything to cut right here, but you kind of get the idea of how that works. These are great. I'll put a link where you can pick up a pair of these as well. And again, saves your blade, saves your hands, makes it much easier to remove the feet and the neck. Anytime you got to cut through any kind of bone, this is great for that, and it saves your knife. All right, so once again, there's not a whole lot of knife work that goes into butchering a rabbit. You're really just cutting the skin around the feet. Once you skin it, again, you can watch my video on how to do that. You pull it down, you're just cutting the skin, you're cutting the belly open. So it's not a lot of knife work. You don't need a big, expensive, fancy knife. Any knife's gonna work as long as you can keep it sharp. That's the key, and that's gonna make the best knife. I like smaller blades because with a rabbit, they're not very big animals, and it's a little bit easier to get into the places you need to with a smaller blade. When you have a really long blade like that, you're working way away from yourself, and it's just a little bit dangerous in my opinion. Just doesn't seem, it's not as comfortable, doesn't work as well. But in the end, use whatever blade works well for you, whatever you're comfortable with. As long as you can keep it sharp, that's gonna work well. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something. Hit me a comment up down below. Let me know what's your favorite knife to use for butchering rabbits. And as always, God bless.